Welcome to Rooted Within with Lili and Dan, a podcast that shines a spotlight on positive change makers sharing their stories of legacy, inspiration, and impact.
I'm going to let you finish sipping that water.
Well, you literally got me halfway through. I was like, we're about to begin. You got so excited.
I was nice.
You were nice.
I didn't
How are
put
you?
you in your place. I'm good, I think. I'm tired.
We were just talking quickly before we started this, I think we're all a bit tired of summer.
Tired.
But
It is
it's
exhausting.
changing.
Yeah.
The weather is changing finally, which is good.
Hopefully.
In the not too distant future.
And with the weather change comes a new guest in the studio.
Oh, well, I like the little
That.
segue
Did you like
you did
that?
in there.
Yeah. Hey.
I'm going to get this completely wrong, as I always do.
know.
So, I'm going to welcome to the studio today, Noona, Nafousi. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
It's really good to have you here.
I'm really excited.
I was literally just, I shouldn't really admit to this, but I was reading your bio on the loo just before I came into the studio.
This is how prepared we are.
No, it was. I was literally I was just trying to catch up on everything. I'm very excited about today's conversation.
Good. I am too.
There's a lot going on right now. I think many people could probably resonate with. So
Yeah.
I think this is a very nice one to get underway.
Well, let's just reel it back a little bit. Who is Noona?
Yeah, go for it.
Who is Noona? So it's such a funny question when people ask you that. I guess the easiest way to describe me would be I am actually really obsessed with people.
Yeah.
Which is why I was a headhunter for 22 years. And I did my NLP training when I was 26. And it really felt like someone had given me a new pair of glasses to see the world.
Why'd you do NLP?
So I am originally Iraqi, and I don't know if you know many Iraqis or Arabs, we are very hot-headed. And
I mean,
Not at all.
not really.
I
of
know it's like
course.
real shock.
Everyone's like, yep, can relate to that.
Really hot-headed. And there was this course that someone was running in Bournemouth. I'm originally from Oxford.
Okay.
And it was something about triggers. It was it had a really cool name. Something like, I can't remember, I have to think of it. But it was a really cool course and it really caught my eye. So I went and did the course, and the guy who was running it was this really amazing guy called Reg Connolly. He was Irish, and he taught all about triggers and how, so much of why we get angry, it's got really nothing to do with the situations because we're getting triggered. And I was just, afterwards I went up
I was
to
sort of
him.
mind blown, right?
Yeah, I was like, what is this? And he's like, well, a lot of it is part of NLP. I'm actually I run courses. Why don't you join me? And then he did it. Then I did my actual NLP in the New Forest, which was amazing.
So I've got a question for you
Yeah.
before, because I think I asked this question
yeah,
off
you
air.
did.
What's NLP?
It's basically called Neurolinguistic programming.
Got you, makes
And
sense.
it's all about the brain and language. It's essentially a manual for your brain. It's like a computer system. Once you understand how it works, then you can
Rewire.
manipulate it, and get what you want out of yourself and others, really.
And what attracted you so much to that course in the beginning? Like, what was the thing that you took away from that was like, wow, this is like mind blowing?
When I did the NLP,
Yeah.
the course, I think for me it was the fact that nobody can make me happy.
Okay.
And no one can make me sad. And at the time I was married. It was my first marriage. And we were I was really blaming him for so much of my unhappiness, and he was blaming me. And I think for me to understand that I'm choosing to be sad, and it's got nothing to do with him. It's the way I'm interpreting what he's saying. It's the thoughts I'm having. Even though it was really annoying because I couldn't blame anyone, it was also really liberating because it was like, well,
You can take back control.
It's me.
It's so interesting.
And so the thing that really blew my mind was that it's okay to be sad and angry. I'm not, sitting here saying I'm always happy. I'm not, and I don't want to be because I'm human having a human experience. I think it's really important to be comfortable with all the emotions. But it's the fact that when I am sad, I own it.
Yeah.
And I know that I'm choosing to it, and that stops compounding the sadness. So you know how you can get sad and it's like, oh my God, and then this
And it gets
happened.
worse
And then when I
and
was
worse
younger,
and
and
worse
then,
and worse.
yeah, you just completely compound that emotion. Whereas just sitting with sadness and being like, you know what, I just really want to be sad.
And feel it.
Yeah.
And ride it.
And there's the real beauty, I think,
And
in
sort of
sadness.
naming
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Naming it.
owning it.
Yeah.
Just completely owning it. And for me, that was the biggest eye-opener. It really did change everything for
But you
me.
said you did that at 26.
26, yeah.
But then did you go into a career of it right
Well,
away?
I used it a lot when I was interviewing people because it was really good for me to ask people questions to understand whether they were
Give us a
gonna
question you would ask.
Well,
what
first
would
of
it
all,
be?
you would do it to understand you're going to get triggered. Like, or what
Not
could
so much
potentially be your
triggered
trigger.
because I was recruiting people for loads of different positions, mainly sales.
Okay.
But I would. You can use it very much to build rapport as well. So
Understand.
when you're asking someone something and they're saying, "Yeah, I can really see where you're coming from," so they're using visual
See.
language. If I went back and said, "Oh, I hear you," auditory, then
Got
you've broken the
Mm.
rapport. So you can also use it in, mirroring
Mirroring.
people.
Yeah.
So like slowly kind of copying people's body language. So it just helped so much. And in terms of getting into what people were thinking, I was not just listening to what they were saying, but I was hearing the words that they were saying because they were loaded.
Yeah. So there's a difference between listening and hearing.
Yeah.
Big difference. Sorry, I jumped in.
No,
you had a question.
these were the ones I'm like,
Yeah.
what sort of questions would you ask?
And also the one that really got me is you can assess how somebody's using their eyes. So say, for example, you need to ask them something like, what was the colour of your first front door? And they would look in
To
a
the
certain
right.
direction. Well, everyone had
Or
a different...
left.
It's so interesting. I just did that.
Did you?
As soon as you did it, I went,
Yeah, so that's where you get your memory.
got you.
But it's different. Some people are left, some people are right. Majority is, I think, right.
That's what laugh.
And so then if I was asking them a question and I knew they were looking the other way, I could tell they were making it up.
Okay.
So then as an interviewer, that's obviously really useful because then I'd be like, I'd know that.
Well, you became a lie detector.
Well, like, why did they feel the need to make
Yeah.
that up? So what's going on here? Is it because they're not confident? Is it the figures are not real?
Yeah.
So I became a really good recruiter.
Yeah.
And really good at, get very intuitive as well. Very good at like reading people really quickly.
Well, I find it very difficult to recruit people. Like we've been in our business recently, we've been hiring quite a lot. And I think it's one of our single biggest challenges, making sure you hire the right people and understanding how they can fit and stuff like that. So I think this type of, and don't say assessment, but
what's
the
your
engagement.
biggest challenge? What have you found as your biggest challenge?
It always revolves around culture fit. Making sure that you add people that then can contribute and add value to what's already existing, and also where they can take value back from. I think because we live and work in Dubai, there's so many different nationalities, so many different mindsets, so many different temperaments. Like we're all very different people. It's just making sure that
Creating that
comes
harmony.
together.
Yeah.
But I think with that, then you kind of need to ask them like, what do you do on the weekends? How would your friends describe you? Quite like if I could, like, I don't know. I think there's questions that you can ask where people will, you'll learn more about them than can you do.
Well, you
the
get to
job.
know the person.
Yeah, kind of ask them a bit more about who they are and.
Interesting.
So you did the NLP, brought it into your recruiting world. How long were you in recruitment? How many years?
22
did you do it?
years.
22 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a
Dealing
long
with people. That's a long time.
Time. A long time. Loved recruitment. I still do love it.
Do you honestly love dealing with people?
Yeah, I really, really loved finding out about people when they came in.
Okay.
I loved it. Really loved it. And what really struck me, so I would do probably about 10 to 15 interviews a day and so I must have done like over 10,000 hours of interviews. And what really struck me is that there were people who would come in and leave and I just wouldn't register, like they didn't bring anything to the room. And then one person would walk in and it'd be like something. They didn't even have to open their mouth.
You could just feel an energy, I think.
Yeah, the way they walked in the room, the way they clocked my eye, the way they shook my hand. They sat down, I was like, this is going to be good. And then they'd start speaking and I'm like, wow. And even though they didn't get the job, I would always remember them. And if something else came up, I would contact them. And I became really obsessed with like, what makes one person stand out in an interview to another? And that honestly, I think has been my life's work.
So I'm going to
interesting
that's
to
going to be
look
my
about.
next question. What is the answer to that question?
It is many different things. One of the main things is they trust themselves. They really honor their word to themselves.
Yeah.
They have this, like, it's not arrogant.
I was just say, is that different from like confidence? Is that different from arrogance?
It's completely different
Arrogance
from arrogance.
and confidence are very different.
Yeah.
I agree.
Arrogance is very much covering insecurity.
Yeah.
Confidence is, I tell you in how you can tell in recruitment, how you can tell. If someone was really confident and had that, it's like this something magnetic about them. If I told them that they didn't get the job, they'd be like, okay.
Yeah. It's not meant to be.
There's something better out there for me.
Yeah.
That's like, it's like going on a date and someone being like, you know.
You know your values.
Yeah. But the people who were just, you know, so either desperate or arrogant or that, they were really difficult to tell. But the ones who were so comfortable, even the way they sat in the chair, you were like, I want to keep talking to this person. I was so
Even if I'm not going to hire you, just like sit here and
just
talk.
like there's something about them, and I became obsessed with finding out. And I've studied them. I've like went into this whole thing about it, and now that's exactly what I coached my clients on.
So what did you think, or what did you feel was the reason for someone's confidence?
Do you know what? They felt really safe. They had a really calm, safe nervous system.
But is that because they knew their work, or because just as a person they were confident?
So I believe that confidence isn't something that you just have or don't. I do think, I know and I've seen it, you can build it, you can work on it, you can develop it, you can learn it. I think that they had this belief that no matter what, they were going to be okay. And that is really attractive.
That's a strong foundation.
Yeah. It's really attractive.
Well, you can't mess with that, can you? You just can't. You can't mess with that.
Of course, and also when you're in like when you're feeling safe and comfortable, it brings out the best.
It's magnetic. It's like everybody wants to be around someone who feels really safe and calm,
peaceful,
and you know, who has this air of like, it's literally like a magnet.
Yeah.
And you just want to be around that person, because our nervous system, all of us, what's the number one thing that we all want in life? It's like innate. It's safety.
Yeah.
So when someone feels safe, and how do they do that? They also are really good at what I say, they have a lot of personal power. So they honor their word to themselves. So they have this relationship with themselves where they trust themselves. Because when they say they're going to do something, they'll do it.
Yeah.
And imagine if we all lived in a world where we all did what we said we were going to do.
It would be so nice.
To ourselves, not to anyone else.
Yeah.
But to ourselves. Because
hold yourself accountable.
Yeah. The minute you said you were going to do something and you didn't to yourself, a bit of stress. Doesn't feel very good inside. And the amount of times we let ourselves down on a daily basis, that I think is what causes burnout and stress and all of these things.
That's a very true story. Yeah. Wow.
So why did recruitment come to an end?
So, unfortunately, I got made redundant during COVID, and kind of took me completely by surprise.
Well, I find that very surprising for someone who's been in the industry 22 years and being as good as you are, for a company to let you go, even though that it was COVID. Like, I'd have you at the bottom of the list.
I was the only one to be let go.
What?
Yeah, out of a team of like 25. And the only one.
Okay, tell me more.
What would be the reason for that? Sorry.
I'll tell you what happened.
Let's dig deeper.
Basically, I had 2 children really close, in ages. I had my daughter when I was 36, 37, and then when she was 9 months, I got pregnant again with my son. And I put on a lot of weight when I was pregnant with my daughter. I am not one of these people who just have like a really tiny little like football tummy. No, like even my tiny nail got pregnant. Okay. And then I had my son, and I really lost a bit of confidence. I was big, and something in me just felt like I just couldn't really I'd had kids a bit later as well, and career was everything to me, and I just lost a bit of my identity.
It's interesting. We're talking to many women on the podcast. Like I said, it's very similar.
Yeah,
but, you kind of lose a piece of yourself by having children in a way.
You really do. And I was in London, and I loved my work, and here was I in Dubai, and things are different here. It just, I don't know. It really.
Just a quick segue. When did you move to Dubai in your career?
I moved to Dubai probably about nearly 12 years ago.
Okay.
And what brought you here?
Love.
Was it Oh.
Yeah. It's funny because I told my husband when I met him, he's 9 years younger than me. And when I met him, I said to him, like, I will never move to Dubai. You're way too young for me. He's 25. I was 33, 34.
Okay.
And, you know, I just said to him, like, I love my flat. I love my job.
Yeah.
I'm never going to happen. And he just said to me, okay.
The confident people. It's what you talked about previously, the people that trust
He
themselves.
said we will get married. Like within about 40 minutes of us meeting, he's like, we'll get married and have kids. And I just thought, this guy is mental. He's just crazy.
There's the connection, the magnet, the
Yeah,
attraction.
that's the thing. And then a year and a month later, we were married.
I love that.
Yeah.
And his kind of prophecy came true.
He knew.
Yeah, he knew from the beginning.
He
within
just
20
knew.
minutes.
So
That's
did you
amazing.
even have to think twice about packing your bag and moving at that point?
Oh, I ended it, like, not ended it, but quite a few times I was like, this is just never going to work.
Okay.
You know, I'm never going to move. And up until 6 months before I did, I just kept saying,
couldn't see it?
no, I just couldn't see it. But he was just like, it's
And
happening.
what was the reason you were saying no, because you didn't want to, or you didn't think it could happen, or you didn't believe in yourself in a way?
I really didn't want to leave London.
Yeah,
I
makes
had a
sense.
really amazing,
place.
yeah, like I've lived there for 10 years. I went to uni there, and I had a really good life and a really good job.
I'm going to segue one more time, but I haven't lost track of our questions.
No worries.
Like, I have. I'm loving this chat.
So, how does a woman in London living a great life and having a great time meet a guy in Dubai?
So my mum and dad lived here.
Okay.
My dad had a job here, and I met him in a shop.
Love it.
Yeah, I met him in a shop.
Nice. Which
And he
shop?
just came.
Do you remember?
I can't remember what shop it was actually. Yeah, just a
Well,
bag
he
shop.
just walked up to you.
My sister was, me and my mum were in another shop, and my sister walked into me. She's like, "Oh my God, Noona, you've got to come. There's this guy who's like got the most beautiful smile. He's really your type." And I was like, "Okay." Went in, saw him, and was like, "Oh yeah, he's really hot." So then me and my sister left, went back to my dad's community, and we were on the pool, and I was reading this book, and I turned around to my sister and said, I can't stop thinking about him. Should we go back? And she was like, yeah, if you want, why not? And we got a taxi, and as the taxi opened, she shut the door, and she's like, are we really doing this? Like, are you actually going to go back and meet a guy in the shop? And I was like, yeah, actually, no. And I went, no, yes, we are.
But did he work in the shop?
He worked in the shop.
Okay, because I was about to
I thought it
say.
was like a-
Yeah,
Of course
no,
he
no,
was.
no. He
Yeah,
worked in the
okay,
shop,
right.
and then so I went back there, and he was like standing outside, and he was like, "I knew you were going to come back. I was literally waiting for you."
We like this guy.
And I had such butterflies in my stomach, literally don't know why. Anyway, I bought something off him, another bag that I didn't need, and I gave him my mobile number and said, "Look, I'm leaving Dubai in 2 days, so if you want to go out, you know, this is my number." Anyway, he never called, but on the plane flying back, and what's so amazing is on the plane, me and my sister got upgraded to first class, and it was like everything was just like it was
Aligned.
incredible.
Yeah, building into something.
Yeah. But you know that feeling you get when you've got like a new boyfriend or girlfriend, and you just feel something like you feel so grounded and
Yeah.
excited. And I felt that. And I just thought, this is absolutely crazy. I met him for 45 minutes. When we were in that shop, he said to my sister, like, oh, she's been waiting for her, you know, bright and shining armor. That's me. We're so going to get together, and we're so going to get married. And my sister was like, I genuinely think you are. And I was like, and she's like,
Yeah.
you know, not one who really believes in all of this stuff. Anyway, what had happened, he then called me when I flew back on the Tuesday. And he said what had happened is he'd put my number on the counter, and the number had fallen between the cracks down into, you know how they have these cracks down into, so he was looking all over, like walking out onto the street, asking anyone, have you seen this number? About 3 days later, a cleaner came up to him and said, are you the one who's looking for a number? As I was cleaning under the cabinet, this is the number. And then he called me, and then we were WhatsApping like every hour. And then I flew back to Dubai 3 weeks later.
And the rest is history.
And then I found out how old he was. I was like, no, are you kidding me? No. But yeah, like 11, we've nearly been together 12 years.
Oh, wow, that's an amazing
2 kids
story.
later, yeah.
Wow, congrats.
He no longer works in the shop, can I tell you? But yeah, no, it was just meant to be, wasn't it?
That's a great
There you
story
go.
of
So
fate,
that's
that things happen for a reason.
Great, and that's how you ended up here. Then worked, then back to our original question of you were going to talk us through how you were the only person that got made redundant.
Yeah, so basically I'd lost a bit of my confidence, and we were in this board meeting and we were all sitting around, and one of the managing partners, we were all talking about what your goals are and what do you want to achieve, and they were like the personal goals. And I said, I really want to lose 20 kilos this year because, you know, I've put on so much weight. And just where you're sat, like opposite, this guy nudged the guy next to him, pointed at me and laughed. And I was crushed, just really upset. And as the meeting ended, I was asking like some of the other managers and directors, I'm like, did you see that? And they're like, no. And I'm like, there was only 7 people in the meeting.
Yeah, so it's quite obvious.
Yeah, I'm like, yes, you did. So I went and said to HR, I'm actually going to raise a complaint. I think that's really disgusting. You know, I'm 40 years old. I'm leaving my kids at home. I do not deserve to be treated like that.
Yeah.
She then I found out that they were sleeping together. She then got the CEO, who I had worked with for 7 years. He came to my kids' baby showers. He came to their birthday parties. I went to the birth, you know, when his wife had his baby. And we sat in a meeting and I complained. And, you know, I was really crying. I was like, obviously I'm feeling really vulnerable anyway. And
yeah, but that you don't need to be feeling vulnerable for it to hurt. That was wrong.
Exactly.
Point blank.
And he turned around to me and said, what do you want me to do about it, Noona? Maybe he didn't suckle enough milk from his mother's breast as a baby.
What?
And I just remember sitting there thinking,
wow,
is this what my career's got to?
Yeah. And
after that happened, what I should have done is left and found another job. But at the time, I was the main breadwinner. My husband was in property, and he was just, you know, getting his career up and running. We just bought a villa for investment. You know, there was so much for me to lose. And
had COVID kicked in at this point?
Not yet.
Okay.
That was like, I think, a year after. Things had just started. And I had got, my confidence just kept dropping and dropping and dropping.
And did that type of behaviour continue?
Yeah.
Oh,
it
wow.
did. It got to the point where actually at one point my boss was just being so rude to me in front of, like, you know, other people. And
Did this happen before?
Not. Do you know what? If this had happened before and I was either the person I am today or the person I was, in front of everyone, I would have spoken
Shut
up.
it down.
I would have said, excuse me. But I didn't, because you lose your voice.
You lost that confidence.
Yeah. And just before COVID, my boss demoted me because I lost a team member who was his ex-hairdresser. I know.
She's pretty clicky.
I know. So basically, he hired his hairdresser and said no one else in the team wanted to take him on. And I said, I will. I really believe that anyone can do recruitment. After about 2 years, I was like, look, I don't think he's right. Like, I've tried everything I can. And he said, well, if you lose him as a team member, you are going to lose your associate director role.
Why?
Because we're not going to build another team around you. So I said, fine, I'm a great recruiter. Put me back into a consultant, and I know I'll make so much money. You know, you make more money when you're a consultant anyway than on, you know, when you're managing someone. And he cut my salary by about 45%. So,
and again, this is before COVID.
A month before
so this
lockdown.
Is before there's any excuse to cut salaries,
This
which
is
was like to
yeah.
keep businesses alive. This was just purely
This was
vindictive.
literally a month before lockdown. And the salary that he showed me, I was like, I was earning more than this when I joined 7 years ago. And there's people that we're hiring who are fresh, who are on the same salary. I know, because I was doing all the hiring.
Yeah. Do you feel like people are trying to push you out?
I think he was trying to push me out.
Yeah, sounds
why?
like it.
I think it just wasn't working anymore. And I think, you know, I had lost. When something like that happens, where someone insults you and you make
Something
a complaint,
breaks.
you know, nothing. And again, I think he was like, she's the mother of 2 kids. And, you know, people who were coming in were so much younger. Even though I was getting up at 5 a.m., getting into the office by 7 because I knew I couldn't stay late because I had to leave at 5:30 to pick up the kids from nursery, to take them home, bath them, put them to bed.
But the thing with recruitment is you actually get better with experience.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
It's a very different industry. It's not about the young and go-getter. They can't recruit the way
and my
someone who's been
numbers
doing
were
it.
good. Like he was bringing in retainers and giving other people retainers, which is like guaranteed fee, and then bringing in resources to resource for them. I wasn't given any of the retainers, was doing all my own business development, bringing in my own candidates, doing all my own resourcing. And then he's comparing my figures. And when I would argue, he'd be like, I don't think you're being a team player. I'm like, no, I think I am, actually.
It's like, no, you're not letting me be on a team,
Exactly.
or you're not letting me play fair.
Exactly.
Sounds like you're completely sidelined.
Completely. So he...
It sounds very personal.
Personal, very toxic. You know, the amount of time that I spent in the toilet sobbing.
And how did that make you feel at a time when you were already feeling down and not very confident?
Yeah,
that just compounded the issue.
really awful. Like, really, because I kept thinking, like, shame on me. I've got 2 kids. I've got a daughter at home. Like, I would never want her to be treated like this. And I just felt, but I also felt stuck because, you know,
There's no choice.
Responsibility.
I had, you know, a family to look after and feed. And so when COVID happened, we were in lockdown, and he kept saying, like, we're going to have to cut salaries. We're going to have to cut salaries. And he kept saying to me over Zoom, you know, Noona, some really difficult decisions are going to have to be made. And I just knew he was going to fire me. I knew it. It was Ramadan at the time. And he asked for a phone call. And I thought, do you know what? If he wants to cut my salary anymore, it would have been like 10K or something. I said, this would be my exit. And so we got on the phone, and he said, I'm going to have to, you know, I can cut your salary, was 10K, you can either stay or I can make you redundant. And I said, I think it's time I left. It's fine. And he said, okay, well, we've got a team meeting tomorrow. I suggest you don't jump on that call. And then he said, because obviously I had friends there who I'd been working for 7 years. He said to everyone on the team, the pressure's too much for Noona. She's decided to resign.
Wow. So it's a blatant lie.
Yeah. Straight away, my friend called me, Victoria, and was like, you resigned? I'm like, of course. She said, I knew you didn't. Of course. He then...
How did that feel? Having someone control your narrative?
He wouldn't let me speak to anyone.
Exactly.
And just, you know, the worst thing about all of it was that the gratuity that he gave me was, because he'd cut my salary, which I didn't sign.
Please tell me he didn't do it on your
I didn't
new
sign
salary.
anything.
Yeah.
And the gratuity that he gave me was on the lower salary for 5 years, as opposed to, and by this point, don't forget, it's lockdown.
Yeah.
And so I went back to HR and said,
That's
this is
illegal.
illegal. And she said, it's not my decision. You're going to have to speak to him. Screaming, shouting on the phone, nothing really got through. And in the end, I got the work. He didn't give me any commission, holiday pay.
Wow.
No, I didn't even get a thank you for 7 years.
Nothing, just gone.
Just gone.
Discarded.
Yeah. And so, and I was quite good friends with his wife, and I said, look, I should be taking you to court. This is actually illegal.
Yeah.
And then he told his wife, oh, Noona is wanting to take me to court. And she was like, I can't believe after all how good we've been to her, how can she do that? She then, you know, we kind of stopped talking. The breaking point came when you know, it's COVID, we were in a small 2-bedroom flat. And my daughter walked in, and I was on the bathroom floor, just broken. And she walked in and saw me and just was like, Mummy, are you okay? I think she was about 5 at the time. And I just looked up and thought, no, this is
not what she's going to say.
This is not my narrative. This is not what's going to happen. Pulled myself up and thought, right, let's pull myself together. And that's when I decided to set up my own coaching business.
That's a painful yet incredible story.
Yeah. Because I thought, you know, if I had someone coach me through that, I would have
handled it differently.
Coached them to have their voice. I know what it's like to feel stuck. I know what it's like to lose yourself and let someone treat you in a way where you don't even know how.
Well, he basically erased you.
Yeah.
That's horrific.
Yeah.
To have
control
someone,
that narrative, it's not fair.
No. To have someone erase you and to be someone that actually stood on their own 2 feet, that's one of the worst things you can do to someone.
You know what makes it so funny? So last year, HR called me and said, "Oh, they're wanting to invite all the people that we've let go for an iftar. Would you like to come?"
What?
Is he mad?
I'm like, "Is this some kind of joke?"
Some sick
And
joke.
like, "Do you remember what happened?" She was like, "Oh, and then turned around and said, 'Oh, I mentioned it to him, and he said he had no idea that we didn't give you the right gratuity.'"
Wow.
And I thought, "Oh,
sounds
Convenient.
it's just gaslighting.
Completely,
It's just
yeah.
like I
Sounds
just
like
said,
a classic narcissist.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah."
Where is he now?
He's still
Doing his
Really?
business.
Yeah, he actually sold some of the business to like another company, so they're part owners.
Ouch.
Well, as we said, karma's a bitch.
Karma, you were talking about that
Yeah.
earlier. Everything happens for a reason.
Exactly.
How have you been able to take that experience and turn it into a positive?
Do you know what? It's a really good story, number one.
Yeah.
And number two, I can see clearly what happened to me,
Yeah.
and so now what I can do is I want to be that person who I could have done with then, which is why I love the coaching that I do, which is why I love doing my corporate coaching, which is coaching leaders to be empathetic and connect to their teams and, manage from a human connection point of view, and you will have the most incredible workforce. Manage from a point where you are unethical, everyone will remember that. And so now
And
that's
it's toxic.
It doesn't
toxic.
that doesn't last long. Like, it's very short-sighted.
Yeah, it's very temporary. It's very transactional, very short term.
It's the age-old saying, look after your team will look after you. To look after them, you got to look after the person.
Yeah. But a lot of, and this is where I think where a lot of leaders are not taught how to lead properly. And it's not, let's get the most out of our team, more KPIs. You cannot be empathetic with somebody if you're not empathetic with yourself.
Yeah.
You cannot hold someone's emotions if you can't hold your own emotions. So now I can see it. He couldn't handle me being so upset because he can't handle himself being upset. It had really nothing to do
But
with me.
here's the thing. If you look at the corporate world, if you look at the workforce full stop, the way people get promoted is from doing a certain job. And they get promoted and they get promoted, and then all of a sudden they're responsible for people. But that doesn't necessarily make them a good manager. It doesn't necessarily make them a good leader. They're good at that particular job.
Yeah, very
so
true.
you're great at being a producer, you're great at being a production person, or you're great at being a creative, but that doesn't make you great at leading a team necessarily.
Yeah.
We don't teach that.
That's exactly.
And we don't check that.
Yeah.
But that's where I think the responsibility of business leaders comes in. It's like you should help educate people and train people
You
to do that.
But also, someone that came in as a producer may not have the skill set of being a,
They might not even
or
want to
might
do
not
it.
even want to be. Like,
Yeah.
there's a
Very
really
different
great friend of
conversation.
mine who moved up the ladder and got to a point where she had to manage people, but she hated it.
Yeah.
And she pulled out, and now she goes, you know what? I don't want to do this. All I want to do is run projects.
Yeah.
I don't want to run
Do
people.
the stuff they enjoy again.
I want. That's what I love doing. I don't care if that means this is as far as I'm going to get.
Yeah.
I am where I want to be.
Yeah.
This gives me joy. So, yes, you can groom them. Yes, you can grow them. Yes, you can develop them. But it's got to be something that they actually want.
Yeah.
But what's the alternative? If you don't want to be a CEO or an MD or whatever, there's a ceiling for you. So
Yeah.
it's like, what's the alternative? I have to want to be this person,
has to be
even if it makes me
alternatives.
miserable. I
Yeah.
wonder how many CEOs out there actually want to be.
Well,
I
most
don't
of
want
my,
to be. I'm going to make that very
most
clear.
of my clients are CEOs,
Yeah.
and that's what they come to me with.
Yeah.
And that's why I love this corporate coaching, because there is a gap. It's like, everyone's like a manager and all of this, and now so many more people are wanting that title so that they can get the golden visa and all of that, which
Yeah.
is great. But it's actually, I feel there needs to be a big overhaul in the way the corporate world
Agree.
is trained, and I am willing to be that voice for it, because A, I've experienced it, and B, I know exactly why people leave jobs from being such, headhunting for so many years. And I know what it takes to connect to yourself so that you can connect to others. So that's to answer the question, that's what's come out of it. It's given me a real purpose and desire to make a difference.
Do you think you needed to hit rock bottom to be where you are today?
100%.
Yeah, it's so true. Because
You
it gives you clarity. At some point, it takes a long time to get there, but then it really gives you that momentum to be like, I need to change.
Well,
Something has to happen.
you could still be doing a job that you are no longer happy in
Yeah.
as well.
You could
Yeah.
also still be in that position where you are still feeling less confident and, you know, bullied in many ways. You know, you could have easily just shifted to a different employment, a different role, and the same thing could have happened again.
And you know what? I'm so, in a way, so glad it happened, because COVID came and everyone was at home. And for the first time, and really since I had my kids, I spent 24 hours with them.
Yeah.
All those days I was going into work, even when my kids were sick, you know, because I wanted to be a good employee and I wanted to work hard. For what? You know, and so now my kids, they see me like I work from home and I pick them up from school, and you know, when they're in nursery they're a bit younger, but now I've managed to create a relationship and a life for me where I'm present, and that's the best thing that's come out of all of this, really.
Sorry.
You go first. Go.
Where did you go? What happened after that day in the bathroom when you just broke?
Something in me just, this is a bit of a crazy story. So basically, something in me has always been obsessed with fortune tellers.
Okay.
My
I love them.
I know.
They're fun.
My great grandma in Iraq, she was a fortune teller, and I do have a gift of, like, I can tell, I can feel, I know. So I decided to go and see this fortune teller, and he said to me, look, the reason why you came to see me today was because of work. I want to tell you that everything's going to be okay. And I really see you as a life coach. And I just burst into tears because I just said to him, like, that's my dream. And he said, but it's in corporate. And I said, no, I don't want anything to do with corporate. And he was like, that's what I see. That's what I'm telling you. And he said to me, do you know someone called Caroline? And I said, no. I said, okay, you will. Completely forgot about decided I was going to be a life coach and started doing everything and setting it all up. And then I ended up working with a lady called Caroline, who was an intuitive coach, and I worked with her for a year. And 6 months into working with her, I went, oh my God, it's
You're
you.
the Caroline.
Oh, wow.
You're the Caroline. And she really, her name's Caroline Britton. She is one of the most incredible humans. And I really feel that she just picked me up. She built me up from the inside. I was broken. And she really just got me to tap back into my intuition, back into my strength, and to tap back into the gifts that I knew I had. And suddenly when I knew, you know, clients were coming in and I was coaching them and I was getting stronger, and I was doing coaching for like mums and everything else. And then about a year ago or 2 years ago, all the people that were coming to me were corporates and CEOs, and they were wanting to do the work. And I just thought, you know what, I loved the corporate world. I did, and I was good at it. And the reason why I didn't want to do anything is because obviously of what happened. So I wrote a forgiveness letter to my ex-boss. It took me 3 letters.
Did you send it or
burnt it?
Okay.
Yeah. You don't have to send it.
No, you just did it
energetically. I needed to let it go. It took 3 letters, but I also I wrote myself a letter to forgive myself for not showing up as the version, because I felt so much shame and guilt and sadness, and so I wrote myself a letter. And then I thought, right, I'm good. Let's go. Let's get back in.
It makes perfect sense for you to be in the corporate.
Absolutely. And I love it. I love the corporate world.
You can tell
really
by looking at your face, like you're really smiling about it.
Yeah, you beam when you talk about it. I cut off a question you were going to ask.
I got 2 questions. I was like, I've got your bio here. Like, I've been reading it like throughout the entire discussion whilst listening, because it says here that you help people shed limiting beliefs that hold people back both personally and professionally. How do you help people shed those beliefs?
So lots of people come to me and they're saying to me, they'll be like, oh, Noona, I really want to do this promotion and I want to do this in my job and all of this. And I'm like, okay, great. So tell me your dreams. What do you want? So they tell me their dreams. And I'm like, why do you think you've not got it anymore? Well, it's because this is not happening at work. And then when we start drilling in, the reason they're not going for what they want, most people think that the reason they don't go for what they want is because of fear. And there is a bit of truth in that. I really believe...
Is that fear that they're not good enough or they're not deserving? Or
those things come up, yeah. But I really believe the things that hold us back and keep us stuck is the fear of success and the fear of getting what we want, because our body can't handle our nervous system can't handle actually getting it. So I'll give you an example. Somebody came to me saying that they really wanted to start doing public speaking, but they just can't. So the reason why, so I said, okay, what if I had a magic wand and I got you up there doing public speaking in front of a conference? She said, I am terrified. So that being terrified of getting what she wanted, actually, it really serves her to tell herself, I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
I'm just too scared.
Yeah, it's like self-sabotaging.
I just don't want to do. So what we do is, a lot of the work that I do is get her to connect back, her or him, get them to connect back to their body and understand, because your body remembers emotions from when you were a child.
Yep.
Get them to remember where, when you were growing up, did you make a decision about yourself that it wasn't okay to feel fear?
Mm-hmm.
So we go, we heal it, we get the narratives. Once we get, everyone has a story. We understand what their story is, how that story has shaped their whole life.
Yeah.
We rewrite the story, and then their career just propels.
Wow.
They just uncover things that they never knew possible.
So is that the NLP coming in?
You know, I have quite a few modalities. I've got NLP, I've got regression, I've got the modality of uncovering stories, sitting in with your emotions. I use all of it, and I use my intuition a lot. So say, for example, I have someone sat in front of me and they're speaking to me. I can feel, and I didn't realize I could do this until I started coaching properly, and they had someone on the call with me, and I'm like, what is this heaviness on your chest? And they just looked at me and was like, how do you know? I was like, I don't know.
You can just feel it.
Feel it.
Yeah.
They said, I really miss my ex-girlfriend, married. It's just heavy. Okay, let's look at it.
Wow.
And then they hadn't heard from his girlfriend in 7 years. 2 weeks later, on the next call, you won't guess who just emailed me their ex-girlfriend. It was closure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That heaviness is then gone.
Gone.
Yeah. Oof.
Yeah.
That's a whole other subject we could talk about. I had one other question, which was actually, we were talking about this before we came on for the recording. It's about controlling emotions. Yeah, because that's something which is hard.
Yeah.
You know, especially when it comes to like anger, stress, fear, anxiety, something which all of us suffer with at some point, I'm sure. How do you control that?
That's the exact problem. You're not meant to control it.
Yeah, you're supposed to ride it.
Just sit with it.
Yeah.
You know, so many of us we have this whole thing like, I just want to be happy. I just want to be happy. Okay, fine. Happiness is an emotion, but for me, if I'm happy all the time, that's not going to drive me to build my business. You do need some amount of dissatisfaction. You do need some amount of like, bit of anger, like, let's do this and stuff like that. So for me, it's learning how to be comfortable with disappointment.
Yeah.
Because so many of us don't want to feel disappointed or have
something which I've struggled with for a long time.
You gotta learn to
and that's
sit
what makes
with
me
the tension.
angry. That's where my negative.
But you gotta sit with that tension, because that's where the magic happens, right?
Yeah. You gotta be comfortable with it.
Yeah.
You gotta embrace it.
Yeah.
But it's also like, when you think of disappointment, it's like, where is it in your body?
Yeah.
And then you tap into that and you sit with it.
Where is it normal? Is it different for everybody?
Different for everyone.
I get mine in my stomach.
Your stomach.
Yeah. I can really feel it.
Yeah.
Like it pain, heavy, nauseous.
And what do you do to get away from it?
Ooh, that's really interesting. Like previously, I would explode. I'd be really angry and volatile. It's what we just talked about earlier.
You'd blame.
But then going through like a journey over the last 18 months now, I'd blame a lot. It's very toxic. Now, it's going back to what you said. It's about learning to accept it, to acknowledge it, to ride it.
Yeah.
Not overthink it, because by overthinking it, you actually make it worse, and let it subside. And then sometimes it sounds really weird. Sometimes I play games with my brain. Like I have to challenge what it's thinking, and then it kind of resets, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I can kind of dispel the negativity or the overthinking that it's trying to take me into.
It's also leading into it and seeing like, what is that disappointment trying to protect you from?
Exactly.
You're going to
What's
the
it trying
heart
to
of the
tell
matter.
you? Yeah. Yeah, no, it's very, very true.
Well, you're welcome to come in for a session.
No, but you know what, I'm going to. Like, I'm really excited. I really enjoyed this
You
one.
can really tap into it and like really hear, and your body will tell you.
Yeah.
It will say like, it's so funny because I get CEOs who come to me like, I'm not into all this woo-woo stuff, so let's just like get
But
to
that's
it.
the
I was
crazy thing that
exactly
they all
the
think.
same.
Yeah.
You know that.
And they're like, let's just get to it.
So this, I love this moment because I did my coaching certification, and he'd sort of look at me going, "Crazy,
my
don't tell
God.
people what they're doing." I go, "That's not what it's about." So
such an opinion on it.
I love hearing the fact that he goes, "Oh yeah, I think I might come see you."
Yeah,
I'm
no,
like,
I'm going to see it now.
Yeah, full
But it's
circle,
true,
my
it's true
friend.
about leaning into it. It's like your own personal intuition is like you can start to feel it. You can start to feel it brewing. You can start to feel it happening. And then you can start to understand how to mitigate that, or to flow with it, or do whatever. Or you simply remove yourself away from the situation that you feel you're about to go into that's causing that. And
Or
there's
it's
all
like,
sorts.
once you tap into what is that disappointment, protecting you from,
Yeah.
and really tapping into it and saying like, what is it trying to tell me, and what does it mean? What am I making it mean about myself if I'm disappointed?
Yeah.
What's the story? Is it that if I'm disappointed, then no one's going to love me, or if other
Yeah.
people are disappointed, then it means
I'm a
that
failure.
I'm a failure. Once you can tap into that and you can sit with, okay, so what does failure mean?
Mm-hmm.
When you're in it and you see it, you take the power away from it.
Very true. Yeah.
It's when and that's what I love to call a blind spot. Like, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And my role is to uncover people's blind spots, shine a mirror on it, and then it's diffused forever.
Yeah.
So it's great because the things that I'm teaching people, they can use for the rest of their lives in so many different situations. And the story has so much power over us until we know it's a story.
Yeah.
And then we take back control.
Yeah.
It's
Because up until
beautiful.
that point, you kind of think it's reality.
It is, but it is
But
a
that's
Well,
reality.
it is reality,
right?
sorry. Yeah.
It is your reality.
Yeah.
But it's the reality that we made up to protect ourselves.
Yeah. And that often goes back to
Yeah.
trauma and stuff that happened
till the
a
age of
long time
7.
ago. Up to the age of 7, really?
Generally, yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
But it's a human phenomenon. It's not you or me, or, this is what humans do. It's how the brain works. Once you can understand how the brain works, then you can unpack what's holding you back, and then you just you can go.
Wow.
So what's next?
Yeah.
So I want to keep doing more talks. I think I'm so passionate about just having people feel okay. Not just good. Like, it's not, I don't want to make everyone happy. I just want to make people feel like, like I said on my website, I said calm, and just take away what's holding them back. So many of us are walking around with these invisible shackles.
Very true.
Just holding us back.
Yeah.
And then we blame it on the people in our lives or our jobs. And
Yeah.
actually, we're the ones who just need to unlock our own shackles. So
Yeah.
what's next? I want to build more on the corporate side, do more public speaking, and just work with as many people as I can, really.
Nice.
Don't want more than that. Eh?
No, we need more people like that.
Need more people like you in the world, Noona.
I've really enjoyed this
It's
conversation.
been great. I've learned so much. Honestly, I've got so many questions, and we will be talking more. Because just some of the stuff that you've been talking upon, touching upon even, like Lily knows the journey. Yeah, it's been a thing. And as a CEO of a business and stuff like that, like you often have, those anxiety, the fears. And, you do things which you regret and whatever else. And yeah.
But you grow.
You grow. Yeah, for sure. But you also need that support, because you do need somebody to help show you, like you said, you shine that mirror.
Yeah.
You often need that, because it's very difficult to see it for yourself, especially when you're in it. When you're in it and you're in it deep, it's very difficult to get out. And that's like my own personal journey. It's like I've had that mirror shone quite a few times, and it's like, oh, right, okay, yeah. but like it's very empowering.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But the difference is you've got to be ready.
You have to be ready, but then that also goes, I think, to what you were talking about previously. Like, there's different levels of ready, but I do genuinely believe that in order to be truly ready and to truly make that change, like you do hit rock bottom, because then you're forced to change. Like,
yeah, you don't. I think
you don't have to.
You don't have to.
Yeah.
No, I think a lot of change does happen when you hit rock bottom, but I also think, you know, if you there are people who come to me who are not rock bottom, but they know something's off.
Got you.
It's like, I used to be so ambitious, and I've just lost all motivation. What the hell's going on, Noona? And I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Let's look into it.
Ooh.
You know, and then we look into it, then we uncover why they're feeling unmotivated. It's not that they're feeling unmotivated, they're just a bit too scared of having too much responsibility and all of that. And then, and that's fine if you don't want to do it, but at least
you got to
know it.
recognize
At
it.
least own it instead of the victimhood.
Yeah,
you
I
know?
think
When you know
so.
it's the
Well, the
power.
thing is, I think sometimes we're so busy doing life that we haven't had a chance to like return back to ourselves and go, am I in the right place? Am I doing what my heart wants? Have I checked in? It's like
we're just existing.
You just sort of, you get to a point
Plodding
when you
through.
are just existing, or you had a plan and that plan was great, but now you're a different person because you grow.
Yeah.
You need
The
to
plan needs to change.
you constantly need to relook your plan, and what used to serve you before may not be what serves you now.
Yeah.
And sometimes not doing that is a reason why all of a sudden you start feeling off because you're no longer aligned with yourself.
Yeah. But so many of us, and you know, this is what I truly believe, is we're not doing enough things that bring us joy or like
Very true.
desire. You know, like say to people like, what is it that you desire? And they're like, what's that?
They don't know how to answer it.
No,
What do you
they just
mean?
live.
Yeah.
It's like all sense of
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Gone.
I think, you know, and I think solitude is so important as well. It's just to really connect in and be like, what do I want?
Yeah.
Do I really want to go to this party or not? And then just tapping back into our intuition and our gut, and you're like, actually,
That's
no.
a scary question for a lot of people, right? What do I really want?
Yeah.
Yeah. On that note.
On that note.
That's a great way to end it. Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining
Thank
us.
you.
It was an incredible conversation.
I
That
loved
was
it.
brilliant.
Oh,
I
no,
loved
we
it.
love it
Thank
too.
you so
much to take away.
Welcome to Rooted Within with Lili and Dan, a podcast that shines a spotlight on positive change makers sharing their stories of legacy, inspiration, and impact.